to the Hedgehog Hollow. Today I'm playing with alcohol pearls and it's double video day. So you may have seen the first video where I showed you all about the new alcohol pearls and the substrates and all those kinds of things. And today now I'm playing with them and we're going to make some fun backgrounds. I've picked out some of those substrates and then I'm also going to show you once we've made those backgrounds, I'm going to show them made into projects. Greg's already like, oh no. But I know you're as excited as I am. So I've picked out some of these substrates. So we're going to be making something on that new black cardstock, the alcoholic cardstock. We're going to be using that silver glitter cardstock, the satin silver. We'll work with that translucent Yupo. Now I know this isn't a new one, but I know we haven't used it here at the Hollow, so I thought we'll use it. We'll also use alcohol pearls on regular Yupo. We'll use the other side, don't worry, it's double-sided. And then we're also going to use that new board from Ranger as well. So we're going to use that too. So I'm going to show you different ways they behave. We're going to use them on their own. We're going to combine them with alcohol inks. I've got alcohol blending solution, all sorts of things. We can show you different ways to use them. I'm also going to show you some of my top tips for working with alcohol inks and also some easy cleanup, because don't we all love some easy cleanup when we're crafting. Now, I do have my glass mat, which does help when we're working with alcohol inks, and we'll be using that for a particular technique. However, press and seal is going to be your friend. If you didn't know, Jennifer Maguire's husband actually invented press and seal. Whenever I get it out, I think of her. It makes me kind of chuckle slightly. But if you work with this, and I know it doesn't sound very nice, but if you just rip off a little bit like this, and it does have a slightly sticky side. You can get it at Target, you can buy it on Amazon. We'll make sure there's some links in the description. Just pop some down on your surface. And we're going to start with regular Yupo paper. So this isn't new, this is just normal Yupo. Yupo paper is an acrylic paper. So you can't tear it. It's not going to tear, it's made out of plastic, which is what makes it non-porous. And let's just work with alcohol pearls. So if you saw the first video, you'll know alcohol pearls have this little bit of pigment in the bottom. And so they're not like metallic mixatives, which I know also have that pigment in the bottom there, because this pearl actually combines with the alcohol ink. They do have that ball inside as well. So you are going to have to shake them like this. Give them a good shake until they're combined, and you're going to see them combine. Now, one thing Tim said about was to keep them stored on their side. I don't do that because I have my pretty wall of alcohol inks. And the reason you would want to do that is because it gives you a larger surface area along here, and it means they mix together quicker. So if you do want to do that, you can store your alcohol ink tins or your bottles on their side. They're going to mix quicker, less shaking. But these are not going to behave like mixatives. You can use these with your regular alcohol inks. They're going to combine together perfectly. You don't have to use them at the end like we do a mixative. They also have amazing names. This one's called Enchanted. So let's just put some drops down. And they have the most amazing shimmer in them. There is so much kind of dancing going on. All that kind of shimmer and things. We'll make sure we drop in some amazing images of how these are dancing and things so that you can see them as well. Let's now pick out, let's add in some of that blue. This one is called Tranquil. And once you shake them up, they are going to last a crafting session. You might have to give them a small shake, but really when you kind of begin, you're going to give them that biggest shake up. I'm also going to put down a little bit of alcohol blending solution. Now, blending solution is also going to come now in smaller bottles, as well as the large bottle that I've got here. So here I have that really large bottle. You're also going to be able to get it in the small bottle in the same size as your alcohol ink. So if you have that alcohol ink tin and you like to travel and craft while you're traveling, then you're going to be able to have it in that same small size. So I'm going to just look at that. Look at those reactions. Aren't they amazing? So I'm going to give it another squeeze. There we go. Look at that. So really I just wanted to show you that these behave not like a mixative. These behave like an alcohol ink. I'm going to add some more blending solution in here. So these are reacting with my blending solution. I'm just going to pick this up. And of course, my pink and my blue are going to mix together to make beautiful purples. So now I'm going to add some more. I mean, the dancing of the colours is just amazing too. So you can see how the two are kind of combining together. There's also a purple in here, so let's add some of that to the mix. Now the purple is called Villainous. It reminds me of the evil stepmother in Snow White. I don't know, maybe that's what Tim was thinking when he named these, but there are some fantastic names in here. So this is the purple. We mix that. Actually, that one mixed really easily together. So again, we're going to just put some dots in. So you can put them inside of colours, you can put them separately. You can, of course, paint with alcohol inks as well. We'll use them on our felt as well during this video. So we're going to use them in all sorts of different ways. I mean, look at that. And then you can let them do their own thing. You can also take things like, this is one of those keyboard cleaners. And you can just just by moving it around, you can get some beautiful movement in it into background pieces. Let's add, there's also another pinky purple. This one's called Intrigue. So again, shake it up. Some things take longer to shake than others. And the great thing about this is if you got something you didn't like, just take alcohol blending solution, wipe it off you go, and you can start again. And that's the great thing about Yupo, is because of that coating on it, because it's acrylic. So we can add some really bright flashes in there. So you can let it kind of spider by itself. We could add just a drop of blending solution in the middle and watch it spider out. I have to say the mica is absolutely mesmerizing inside of it. Just the way you can kind of watch it spider and dance with all that mica. And then, as I say, we can add, find a nice light pink. I picked one out in here. I have shell pink. So this is just normal alcohol ink. This is not the pearls. I can place that just inside here. And that's going to react as well. So if I place it over, it's going to pick up some of that pearl. If I place it next to it, it's going to behave just like a normal alcohol ink. So you're going to get some really fun and interesting reactions between your different alcohol inks. I mean, that background is beautiful. I'm going to leave it there. I'm so happy with how this is looking. Now, to dry this, Yupo is heat stable, so you can dry it. But you'll find alcohol inks evaporate very quickly and dry super quick. And the great thing about doing this is I can just pick up this press and seal and pop it on the work surface behind me. And I don't have any clear up at all, because when this is done, I can just screw it up, pop it in the bin, off I go, and it's completely mobile. So that is my top tip for working with alcohol inks. Do it on press and seal because you can move this. It can dry behind me when I'm doing my next piece. And then when it's done, I don't have to wipe anything up. I just throw it away and off I go. So now we're working with that matte silver cardstock. So this time we're going to use the tool that has the felt on the bottom. So this is a little bit, well, these are the old blending tools. So these are rectangular. You can also use the round ones. You can get round pieces of felt. And you can buy pre-cut or buy your own felt and cut them. Either way works absolutely fine. So let's choose some colours. What should we do this time? Let's start with some Tranquil again. Like this. We're just going to daub some on like so. And you can do all sorts of fun patterns. And I'm going to also take some Sublime. You can see what I mean about all these amazing colours. We also just gave them a really good shake. And I'm going to go in. I'm going to just start making a background. The other thing is that press and seal is a little bit tacky on this side too. So it's going to cling onto your cardstock. So your cardstock's not going to move either, which I find really, really useful. So I'm going to just put a little bit more of the Tranquil on because I want that to be my main colour. I have to say that when working with the pearls, I'm getting a little bit of that mica come through, but not as much as when I did the direct to paper. So I actually prefer the direct to paper. So let's go back to that technique. And this time I'm going to do something a bit different. This mister has isopropyl alcohol in it. Now, Ranger do not recommend spraying alcohol blending solution. So hence I have isopropyl alcohol, and alcohol inks will absolutely react with that as well. So that's what I'm going to put down on here. So I'm just going to pop some down. I'm going to be quite generous because I'm going to go with this blue being my main colour. Then I'm going to go, what should we have our theme this time be? Let's go for blue, yellow and green. They're not colours I normally go with, but I'm going to try something different. So I'm going to put down some yellow. I'm going to throw in now a little bit of blending solution because, and that's one thing you're going to find with alcohol inks. It's really fun to experiment, to get different things. Sometimes you might not want an all over pattern. Sometimes you might want things through the middle. Straws are also really good fun to work with, to kind of blow your inks around. And I'm just kind of putting some swishes of green. This is the Sublime green. And I'm also going to put some envy in because who doesn't like the idea of some envy in their project? So I'm just kind of throwing some in here. And I love watching the reactions. Can you see when I put some envy inside of some Sublime, and you can almost kind of see the emotions reacting together. Absolutely brilliant. And that's the thing with alcohol inks. And as I say, we can mix in our regular alcohol inks too. So we can now say some sailboat blue. Oh, what a lovely normal kind of colour. And can you see how when it's over that mica, it's picked up some of that mica? We could take some citrus and throw some citrus in there. We can take some dandelion, because I think dandelion will look so pretty with some alchemy mixed in. And there is an alcohol ink storage tin as well for those of you who are looking for storage solutions. And I want to create a little bit of movement in this middle. Look at that. Can you see how this is all moving out? Doesn't that look amazing? You see how that mica is dancing. And what you'll notice is every time you do this, it's going to help that evaporation process. So you don't have to do this. Now something else fun that you can do, which I'll show you in a second, is I want to get this a little bit more dry before I get to the point of adding anything else in. And colours are going to mix together. You're going to create some really fun, oh, I love the pattern I've just created in there. So one thing you'll sometimes get with alcohol inks, look at those ripples. I'll link this little air blower up as well for you. I actually stole this out of Greg's office. He's now looking at me. He's like, I wondered where that went.
I bought that for cleaning camera gear.
Well, works really well for alcohol inks. And it creates really pretty patterns. Okay, so that's pretty dry. So one thing you'll get sometimes with alcohol inks is like here in particular and around here like this. You have these much thicker pieces, and right now they're kind of tacky. And something fun that you can do, and you get some really pretty things, is you can take some foil. Sometimes it works better than others. And this one you can see has been a little bit well loved. But what you can do is give it a few minutes to dry. Actually, I'm going to give it a little helping hand with a heat tool here. Just like this. Is those areas stay tacky. And this is a little bit of a random process. Some alcohol ink panels work beautifully, some don't. But I always like to try it because it gives you a really fun kind of technique if it does work. You want your alcohol ink to be fairly dry, kind of like that, so that if you lay this on it doesn't stick. And then you just lay this piece down and then give it a really nice press and just leave it a couple of minutes. And what you're going to do is anywhere that you had those really thick bits that haven't dried, is the foil will stick to them because it will work like glue. And particularly as we've got those mica pieces in there anyway, it's going to pick even more of that foil up. This is just regular thermoware foil. So you want a foil that's going to work with adhesive. Something that works with the glimmer hot plates is not going to work because it won't pick it up. It has to be adhesive activated. But again, we'll link up the exact one. This is the Rebecca Meyer one, I think, that I have here. But I have the packaging. So we'll make sure we link up the exact ones. And you can get copper, and I think this is the white gold. And so you can probably see that there's some areas you can already see that I've used on previous panels. But I'm lifting it away. And I've got it in some areas. So here I have some, hopefully you can see it on there on the close-up. And then I've got some over here and little flecks here and there. It just adds that extra interest. Almost like real kind of granite or marble. It adds in that extra effect. And again, I use my press and seal underneath. So now I'm going to put this to the side to fully dry. And I have this beautiful background panel that we can use. I have some fab ideas to mount them up into projects in a little while. I'm going to put this to the side, and then we're going to work on one of the other new substrates as well. So one thing I wanted to mention about the previous panel before we move on to the glitter cardstock is about the alcohol pearls opacity. So you'll notice on this piece that we just did, here you've got these beautiful pieces, and we use that matte silver cardstock. So we have little areas here and there that aren't filled in, and that matte silver cardstock just fills it in perfectly, so we don't always have to fill them in. And then here we have alcohol pearls that are quite opaque, so you don't really see any of that silver cardstock. Whereas in areas like this over here, we had that dandelion, that's just our regular alcohol ink. You do see some of that silver cardstock through, so you'll notice they're a little bit more translucent. So just think about your placement and kind of how you layer up those alcohol inks. But next we're going to work with that glitter cardstock. And so that really, you want to use more probably of your alcohol inks, your sort of regular alcohol inks, as opposed to your alcohol pearls. Now I'm going to start off, I'm going to put down some alcohol blending solution because I really like how my alcohol inks in general kind of behave when I have alcohol blending solution down. And I just think you get some really fun techniques. Now you'll see that I've got some kind of shadows and things going on, so I know where my blending solution is on this cardstock, and I have a really wonderful glimmer in there, and that's going to show through. Now my glitter paper, this is screen printed on there, so I have a non-porous surface to work with. What colours am I going to do? I kind of fancy something fallish. I don't know why, because I'm looking out the window and there's a load of snow outside. So you wouldn't think that I'd be feeling that kind of mood. I can't even get the lid off. Someone put the wrong lid on. Let's go with a different colour. Valencia. So this is a beautiful orange. So we're going to put some of that down. And I'm going to go with some coral. And as I say, this is the great thing about alcohol inks, because if you change your mind, it doesn't matter. You can wipe it all off and you can try again. I'm going to go in with some more dandelion. And you see, when I put it inside, isn't that reaction really cool? How it kind of all reacts inside of each other. I'm going to throw in some citrus because I'm living dangerously today. I'm going to call this a fall and springtime theme-ish. And then we're going to add in a little bit of alcohol pearls too. So we're going to go in with some Alchemy. That's that lovely yellow colour. So we're going to have some here. Can you see that dance? Isn't that amazing? It's just absolutely fantastic. And we're going to go with some Splendor. I don't think we've used Splendor yet. Absolutely beautiful. I really like what that citrus has done too. I wasn't sure. I thought I was kind of living dangerously, but clearly it worked out just fine. And maybe I'm going to throw a bit more citrus, because I kind of like the way it peps some of those areas up. And my colour theory is really failing me today. I really want to add something else, and I'm not sure what. I kind of just want to dry this off a little bit. Now you can also, I did grab a straw as well, because you can just, and so you can see there, see how I created that really fun kind of design. So you can do some really fun things like that. You'll also notice I'm wearing my hedgehog hollow apron because this can get a bit messy, but this press and seal tip will save you a lot of clear up and mess. So I'm really loving how this is going. What else do I want to add to this? Now this is the thing about alcohol inks, you will become spoilt for choice. I do have more alcohol inks. I have a whole wall of alcohol inks. I do have all the colours, but I was trying to limit my options, because when I limit my options, I do find, so what I'm just doing now, you can see that I kind of just have my alcohol blending solution on its side, and I'm not even squeezing it. All I'm doing is just very gently tapping it over the surface. Look at those reactions. Isn't that just gorgeous? So sometimes you're like, I just think this needs something a little bit different. You can tap your blending solution. I've also done a technique, I'll link it in that top right hand corner. It's called misting with blending solution. So you can't spray with blending solution, but I did develop a technique just using your blending solution bottle where you can get a mist. So you're not going to inhale any mist, it's just using the bottle to get a much finer kind of mist over your project, and it produces a really beautiful effect. It almost looks like you salted your background. It's absolutely gorgeous. So check that video out as well, but I really like this background. And what you can also see is you can still see a lot of that glitter paper underneath, that all still shines through. I love this. So I'm going to leave this here. We still have 3 substrates to play with. We're going to do a direct-to-paper technique, which is a bit like your distress ink smooshing, but you can do it with alcohol inks. We're going to play with the black, and then the next one we're going to do is with the new board. I'm going to do a technique that Tim was one of those happy accident techniques, so let's go and do that. So for this, we are experimenting together. Now, I watched Tim do this at Creativation. He said he'd only discovered it at the show as a happy accident. He'd been working with these new vinyl boards, and he did one, he didn't like it, he tried to wash his alcohol inks off, and he kind of found this happy accident technique. Now, if you want to see that video where he did the demonstration, you can check that top right-hand corner. But I thought, well, I'm going to have a go and see how it goes. So this is the smaller size, so we're going to start small and see how it goes. Now I'm going to throw on some colours. So first of all, we're just going to throw down some blending solution, like so. And I'm going to start out with some Intrigue, because, hey, I'm feeling intrigued by this idea. Oh, wow, look at that beautiful magenta colour. And I'm going to throw out some Villainous, like this. And you know I'm all about my pinks and purples. They are totally my go-to colours. And some Enchanted. I can see I'm going to need a lot of these alcohol pearls. And I'm also going to throw in some regular colours, some raspberry. Like this. And some wild plum. Make sure I put them. I have been separating them. You may have noticed that I've been keeping my pearls in front of me and my regular alcohol inks to the side of me. Now the reason I've been doing that is so that when I'm doing this video, I'm at least remembering to keep them separate. Now I'm just adding some more alcohol blending solution. Also, you know, alcohol inks are liquid inks. They'll move around. Wow, look at that. Okay, I've created a bit of a mess, but I really like that background. And yes, I have it all over my fingers, I know. Okay, so this is just going to be a background. Yes, I've just splattered it all over my apron, I'm pretty sure. But that is a really pretty background. That's kind of not what I intended, but sometimes projects start out like that. That's okay. That's a super pretty background, and I'm really happy with that background too. Okay, so let's start there. Let's go back in with some Villainous. Look at that dance. So these are a vinyl board. They have a thick board in the middle, and then they have a non-porous surface on either side. It isn't Yupo on either side, but it is a non-porous vinyl type surface. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So you can see how these are reacting together. And I'm going to go back in with some non-pearls. I mean, everything's going to shimmer because I have pearl on the bottom. I am loving how this is reacting together. And then you could put a sealant and things over the top. You can collage with these, you know, you can do all sorts of fun things. This is Wild Plum that I'm throwing in. And I'm going to be Purple Twilight. I think I'm going to just really be daring and throw some of that in. Doesn't that look awesome? So I'm just going to wait for this to dry for a second. In fact, I can give it a little helping hand with my Heat It tool. So again, I'm using the Ranger Heat It tool over my embossing tool because this isn't going to move my liquid around. It's just going to give me that heat drying, which is what I want. I don't want to move any of my fluids. I just want to help that evaporation go on a little bit quicker. So this is why I use my Ranger Heat It. It doesn't have to be completely dry, because actually I'm going to completely change this background. You're not going to see any of this in a second. And in the meantime, I'm actually going to add some different colours in because we want to see different colours in a minute. I'm going to throw in some Mermaid. Oh wow. And you'll see you'll notice I'm a little bit of a lover of alcohol inks. I just love the reactions. I love how every single one comes out different. This is Tranquil. I think I might go with some aquamarine. Or not, because I can't get the lid off. I had to transport some of these recently and I had a leakage. And now I'm struggling to get some of the lids off. And I will get the lids off, just not on camera. It's not a very pretty process. And I have Mermaid already. Okay, so I think that's a kind of really nice place to start this process. So let's dry this off. I've got some nice colours in there. And then we're going to wash it all off. And that's how we get this technique. And we'll see if mine works. So that's pretty dry. Now, of course, I could at this point, I've got lots of those thicks and thins that I was telling you about. I could at this point add that foil and I would have a finished project. That would also look really, really pretty on this tile. But that's not what I'm going to do. What he did, and who knows if mine's going to work because I have not tried this yet, was he took blending solution, he tipped it up on its side like this. What he basically did was went backwards and forwards and he skipped areas here and there. Just like this. And in skipping, he created this really fun pattern. I'll put it down so you can see. You can see that, and in the ways where I skipped, so you see like in these little, where I have the longer pieces, that's where he skipped. So I think that comes out really, really cool. And look at all of that dancing. So like here I skipped, here I skipped, here I skipped. So you can see those areas where I skipped because I have much thicker pieces. I also think that because you have so much of that thickness in there, I'm going to tip it up just to get rid of some of that excess solution. And I mean, do be careful heating it. I mean, you are working with alcohol and things. I'm not going to let it get too hot. It does evaporate very quickly, and from heating it from the side, I can really see kind of where it's dry, where it's not dry, that kind of thing. But I'm going to try my little foil technique. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm just going to fold my press and seal in half because there's a lot of liquid in the middle there. And then I'm going to scooch it back towards me. I'm going to grab, this silver kind of chromy foil. I don't know if this is going to work. I mean, crafting is all about experimenting. So you might try something in your craft room, it works perfectly. You might try things. We have days here, we experiment with all sorts of things. There are great days and everything goes perfectly. We have amazing experiments. We show you techniques. We're like, wow, we discovered this. And we have days where I can assure you all goes hopelessly wrong. And like, Greg comes home and I'm like, this didn't work. And he's like, well, it's never going to work, obviously, because physics and chemistry say that's never going to work. I'm like, oh, well, we thought it might. So try things, because sometimes you're going to create fabulous things. And if it doesn't work, well, there's another day. So let's just try it and see. So we'll rub our foil on. This is kind of like a darker chrome. Oh, wow, it did work. And it looks amazing. And I love it. So I now have, you can see like here, I have all of these kind of foiled pieces as well. So now I have even more details. I could have added mixatives, but I just kind of like the randomness that the foil technique gives. So we've also created this beautiful hardboard panel. I mean, just a really fun idea. And we still have 2 substrates to play with. I'm really intrigued by the black, so I think we'll do that one next. And then I'm going to save the messiest technique for last because that's the biggest clear up. So with the black cardstock, Hannah used this in her class when she did the Ranger class at Creativation. She said this one was a little bit more challenging, so I'm going to enjoy playing with it. But her tip was to start with the yellow. So let's try that first of all. So we're going to start with some Alchemy. Give it a little bit of a shake. And what you'll find is if you've recently shaken them, you don't need to shake them so much to get started. Now let's do my favourite thing of starting with some blending solution, because it just gives us a nice kind of base to start from. And what you'll notice is I don't really like soak my paper necessarily, and I don't really know kind of how this is going to react on here, so let's kind of get going and see. Ooh, this is fun. Look at that. Doesn't that really pop on there? So let's, from yellow, let's go into some orange maybe. Now this cardstock feels a little bit more porous than some of the others. I'm not sure if it is. And what you'll notice is the colours are kind of absorbing into it a little bit more because of the black behind it. So if I put my regular alcohol inks, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I took my dandelion, it's the mica that's going to show through. You can see now. I mean, you can see because I put it over the top on some of them. So where it's gone over the top of the alcohol pearl, like here, you can see, yes, there's some dandelion on top of my Alchemy, but you can't see it in the rest of it. It just soaks in. So it's like we're using a regular dye ink on top of black cardstock, whereas using a pearl is like using your oxide on top of your black cardstock. Maybe that kind of makes sense. Let's try using some Deception. See what happens there. And that's one thing that Hannah said to me is lay down lots of yellow first and then put your colours on top. And she said you'll get much better pops. So that was her top tip, hence why I laid down my Alchemy first. But I really do like how this looks. And it's just fun to be able to do something different. I'm really loving this though. Now, Tim was saying he doesn't use his alcohol inks on black cardstock. He's been using this cardstock for matting his projects because he really likes how it makes it kind of pop. And if you watch my tutorials, you'll know I love to matte on black cardstock. So, Tim, I am with you all the way. I have been matting on black cardstock forever. Hannah laughs at me whenever she does projects because she's like, let me guess, I need to get some satin or some glossy black because you want to matte on black. And I'm like, yep, that's me. But I just love how it looks. I think it looks amazing. But this is fantastic. This looks like kind of like a galaxy background, kind of rainbowy, kind of fun. Like I love the way this layers. It kind of looks a little bit like a Distress Oxide layered background. That is exactly what it is. They look like Distress Oxides on black. They layer. They're perfect. This is absolutely awesome. And look at all that dance and stuff in it. I have some ideas how we're going to use this. This is going to be really good fun when it's done. But you can also see as it's kind of soaking in, it's getting a different look to it. So when it's just on the black, they go kind of really pastel-y over here. You can kind of see they're more pastel-y. When they're on top of each other, they're far more bright and vibrant. So these are going to be really good fun to kind of play and layer with. But I do have one more technique I wanted to show you. It's on the translucent Yupo. And I know translucent Yupo isn't new, but this is a really fun technique. So this is a really favourite technique of mine, using alcohol inks, and it's kind of like the distress ink smooshing and stuff we do. And since I've had the glass mat, it's made this technique so much easier. It is a little bit messy, but clear up is also fairly simple, and I'll show you clear up too. So we're going to do it direct on our glass mat. Now you can do it on any non-porous surface, so if you have a ceramic tile, any kind of glass mat, something like that, it will work perfectly. But of course we do have our exclusive Hedgehog Hollow tonic code every month, so you can check that out in the video description. And if you're not watching it in February 2019, go to a more recent video of ours and you'll be able to check out whatever the code is for that month. Now I'm going to work on my white palette area because I find that easier to work with, because of course it's going to show me what colours I have. Now I'm going to grab some inks and I'm going to stick with my pinks and blues because I guess that's my favourite colour combination. Again, I'm going to do a mixture of my regular alcohol inks and my new pearls. And so I'm just going to give these a good shake before I start, because once you get started with this technique, you kind of want to work fairly quickly. And I like to take my lids off for this technique too. So I'm also going to put my lids where they're supposed to be in their rainbow order over here, because that's going to help me too. So again, not sure where that one goes, but that's going to go there. So I kind of prep everything ready to go for this technique, because alcohol inks dry on your non-porous surfaces, which is why you kind of want to be ready to go, because once you get started, you just kind of want to go through the process. So I take everything off. Also have my blending solution ready to go. And I have my isopropyl alcohol spray. Oh my god, that's a tongue twister. So I'm ready to go. So I'm just going to kind of throw down some ink, and I don't think about it too much. So again, you know what Tim says, you get what you get, you don't throw a fit. And I kind of thought about my colour theory a little bit, so I'm going with colours that aren't going to make mud. You know, my blues and my purples. My blues and my pinks make purple, so, you know, everything's going to kind of go together. I'm making a nice pretty mess on one side of my mat. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of blending solution in some places, but not too much just yet. And then I'm taking my translucent Yupo, which is a little bit like vellum, and I'm going to just run it through. And what this gives me, and every time I get something different. I mean, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And I have all of that dancing and that kind of thing in it. And I can get more than one print. I just have regular Yupo paper off to the side. And so I'm going to just kind of go in and I'm going to smush this around. And I'm going to pick it up. And so I've got some lovely veining on one side here. And I can pick it up. I can dab. I can do all sorts of things. I could throw in a little bit of purple here if I want to pick that up. I'm going to throw in some of that, what's this one called? Intrigue. I'm still learning the names. I can also throw in some extra director paper. And something else which we haven't done yet is you can spritz this with isopropyl alcohol. And you can see you can get some really fun techniques with that too. And you're still going to get a lot of prints off of this. And I can do this, throw down some more blending solution. I can pick up some more colour. And I love the veins you get by just kind of dragging. I mean, look at that, isn't that cool? And then I can throw down a little bit more of the blue. And you are going to watch how you get some really awesome things. So I also did a video last year on the glass mat when it came out. Again, I'll link that in the top right for you. And you'll be able to see how cool you can get some really beautiful things. I did one with oranges and reds, and it absolutely was beautiful. So again, you can just kind of get some really fun things in there. And if I throw down a bit more blending solution, get different reactions in there, a bit more blue, a little bit blue light. And also these panels are really great to die cut. They make beautiful background papers to die cut. I mean, look at that. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? And you can just keep going. You can keep adding blending solution, keep adding inks, and then clean it wise, because I know you're all going to ask me, how do I clean this up once I've got it on there? Just spritz it with alcohol blending solution, or not spritz it, sorry, put alcohol blending solution down, or isopropyl alcohol. Now I try to get as many prints as I can, and I'm going to try and get one more print off of this top bit, because there's quite a lot of ink down here. And you really can just keep going and going and going. And I'm going to try and pick this up. You will find it likes to stick down. You can see there I've got kind of a really light print. I'll just try and kind of scrub as many times as I can. And the great thing about Yupo is we all know we can get it off. But the other thing I can do is, okay, I have something really light to work with, but I know there's lots of alcohol on there. I know there's also a fair bit of ink on there. I can just work direct to paper. This is the great thing. So I'm not going to waste this piece of paper that has lots and lots of potential. I'm just going to work directly on here instead. And I'm going to take my So these are just paper straws that we have in the drawer at home. And you can see I'm making a really pretty background there. It almost looks marbled. I'm going to throw in a tiny bit of the light pink. Just a tiny, tiny bit here and there. And I'm going to do the same thing again. And again, if I was die cutting this and I'm like, do you know what? I'd really like a little bit of a brighter colour in there. I could go back, but I think that is super, super pretty. I'm going to pop it on one of those panels behind me because I have lots of room behind me. And I'm going to move these out the way so I can show you the easy clear up. But I love these panels. And then I will show you some finished projects. I will make these into finished projects, and that'll be at the end of this video. I'll show you the finished projects. But again, as I was saying, just spritz it with isopropyl alcohol. You can use blending solution, but isopropyl alcohol is a lot cheaper and absolutely fine for this clear up. Grab some kitchen towel, and then all I do is a nice wipe down. You can also use your media matte scraper if you needed to, but I've never found that's an issue. So just give it a nice spritz. Keep working. You can just see it's just wiping off with regular kitchen towel. So cleanup is super easy. I might go through a few bits of kitchen towel, but it's not crazy messy. But definitely when I'm just doing regular alcohol inks, put down some of that press and seal, and it makes your life so much easier. Now I'm just going to go and mount those panels up. Well, it'll probably be tomorrow by the time I get to that. But then I'm going to show you those finished projects, because I know how easy it is to make these panels, to make gorgeous panels, but then it's like, how do you make those into some finished projects? So I'll give you some ideas of that, and then that'll be the end of this video. So those few panels I actually made into 15 projects. So you really can stretch a few really pretty alcohol ink panels a long, long way. And I'm going to show you the 15 projects I made. So the first one, I took that beautiful green board that we made. You remember that beautiful board that we add all the foil and everything to? And what I did is I made this. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? So along here, I've stamped the Tim Holtz trees along the bottom in archival ink. And then I took a little bit of the glimmered panel with the screen printed glitter on. I took a piece of the black panel that we did, and I took a piece of the white Yupo, and I cut the tonic butterflies out. Everything will be linked in the description for you, and I'll do it in order of the projects as well. And I die cut those out, and then I glued them onto here, and you can see they really do look like, and you've got all of that depth and dimension. So these butterflies really look like they're flying off the page. And I'm going to mount this into a frame, and you'll see it appear on the back wall as a project, because I just absolutely love how this came out. So that was my first project. Then, oh, I should mention, I I heat embossed on here. Every adventure is worthwhile, and that's from the Stampers Anonymous Nature's Wonder stamp set. I really like some of these sentiments. You'll see them pop up on lots of these projects. These have some really pretty sentiments, and they work perfectly with some of the things I used. Then I took the panel you can see on your screen now, and I die cut it using that Sizzix Chapter 1 release. If you check that top right hand corner, you'll see a link to my haul of what I chose from that Chapter 1 release from Tim. I die cut it. Isn't that a beautiful die? And again, I use that same stamp set, heat embossed it with Nuvo Fine Silver Embossing Powder, and cut onto black satin cardstock, matted this on black satin, and then I used a Nuvo textured cardstock behind it, and I created a folded card. I'll show you here. It's a top fold card. And then I've just added just a couple of Amethyst square Nuvo gems in here, just to add it that little bit of twinkle, and then this is mounted on foam. So that's another project on there. Then I took that green panel you can see on your screen. That was the one that we did on that satin silver cardstock, and I created 2 cards. So this one here, I took again one of the Chapter 1 release. That was these dies that are a little bit different because they cut just the negative out. So I took a strip here, I cut the 2 pieces out, and I mounted it behind some Sugar Crystal Nuvo cardstock. So that's the white glitter behind there. I also put a piece of acetate between the Yupo and the glitter cardstock. I was going to do a shaker at one point, but I just really liked the effect that it gave without having the shaker in there. I used the sentiment, this is an Alter New Sentiment, Missing You. Again, added just a few gems for a little bit of sparkle. There's a white panel here to add a border, my usual satin black. But again, you've just got a nice bit of texture. There's a foam piece under here to lift up my Missing You. And again, just a really pretty, clean and simple card. And using some of my new supplies. And then the rest of that panel, I took here, you can see, this is just a basics square layering die from Tonic. This is the Tonic square layering dies. And I turned them on point, and I just die cut them out a couple of times. I used some of the new pearl rectangles, and this stamp set is another uninked stamp set, so I got to use a stash stamp set. It's Beyond Grateful from the Stamp Market. It has that nice long thanks that I used here. And then I used the Beyond Grateful, again, on the angle, just to add some of those geometric things to them. But I really, really like this. Greg liked it as well. It's a little bit different. And it's a great way to use a basics layering die in a different way. It just adds some geometric and uses them like a window. And I did a similar one with the other panel you can see on your screen now. So you remember that beautiful panel we created? Well, I took the Tonic layering octagons, and I did the same thing. So I die cut 2 of the small ones here and some of the different size ones. I added some gems in. I added the Beyond Grateful. Isn't that a really pretty thank you card? And again, you can see the shimmer of the pearls. I added my classic black layering layer, but it just gives you that clean and simple card. And again, I took the other strip and I used another one of those negative flowers. I put some black glitter cardstock and a sheet of acetate in between again. And I stamped with my archival ink here, Praying for You. Just a nice, I've actually had to, unfortunately, use quite a lot of sympathy cards recently. So it's just a nice one to put in my stock. I have a strip here on either side of rose gold cardstock. It's a bit harder to show up on film, but then I also have that black on the side there. So just 2 really pretty cards. You can see out of one 5x7 panel, I've created really 2 beautiful and very different cards as well. Very different looking cards. So there's 2 more projects that I created. Then I got to use that fun new geometric die. So from the panel you can see on your screen, I created these 2. And you can see here, this is my geometric heart. This was actually my second attempt at the geometric heart. This was my first, and I did it slightly wrong. So this was the black cardstock, and if you remember that black cardstock, you can see it on your screen now, was really pastel-y. Well, when I was sitting here playing the other day, I just threw some more pearls on top of it. And it seems that the more you layer it, the more vibrant it gets, because you can see here how vibrant this looks. I added some gems here, so I added some heart-shaped gems, some new tonic ones, and I Love You die. This is My Favorite Things die. Again, all those links are in the description for you. And of course, I'll add our exclusive Hedgehog Hollow discount code for February. If you're not watching this in February 2019, hop to a more recent video and you'll find our latest exclusive tonic coupon code for that month. This is the other half of that paper, which shows you the black with the more pastel-y on. This is a butterfly, and I added some splatters. Now, if you're like me and you can never get the perfect splatter, Wendy Vecchi does an amazing splatter stamp, and that's exactly what I did here. I actually just took the stamp on my finger and I just stamped as though it was kind of just coming out from the butterfly. It was though kind of like that trail. And again, that sentiment is from that wonderful stamp set, and it says, "Go where you feel most alive." And I added some of the gold oval gems, and I left it so that the butterfly looks like it's jumping off the page. Again, that geometric butterfly is one of the chapter 1 releases, and I used the hummingbird, which you'll see in a second. But this was my first attempt at the heart, and when I got to the end, you'll notice that the top of my heart is actually open here. But I'm going to use that as an opportunity. I might use it for Maddie's Valentine's Day card and maybe roll a couple of dollars and pop that in the top for her as a little excuse. Or you could pop some fake flowers in there and use it as something to hold something in there. But this was my second heart, and I managed to get it right. You'll see that the top is actually closed on that one. So this was my second heart, and then from the same piece I got to die cut this flower, and I made just again a very clean and simple card, and I used the Happy Hello sentiment. This is from a Pretty Pink Posh koala set, but again just very clean and simple, and added a little gem on the flower. And then I'm going to move these to the side. This was on the translucent vellum. I just very simply, because I just loved how that panel looked, I used a Stamp Market die, just a big high, and then I used a Note to Say, which comes from the Glorious Greetings set. There's some really pretty typed sentiments on here. So I just did a Note to Say and then high. And for a little bit of extra detail, I cut the dot of the eye. Sorry about that. There we go. I cut the dot of the eye using some black glitter paper. That's my reminder on there. So that was my little Note to Say hi. So then I also, out the same piece, managed to cut another one of the Tim Holtz Wildflowers. So this is a Tim Holtz Wildflower, and I just thought that was a really pretty thing. And this stamp is an Altenew stamp. I thought it just went perfectly on the side there saying friends. And I had the perfect little piece that I could die cut just the top of the bloom as an extra and pop it on the inside. So it just added a little bit of detail. I just had enough space to do that on my piece of cardstock. So you can see these are really clean and simple cards, and they were really quick and simple to put together as well. But just out of those pieces, I got so much. Also, out of those scraps, I managed to cut a couple of extra wildflowers, and I also cut lots of wildflowers out of that screen printed glitter cardstock that I added onto this background. Now I spritzed the background using cracked pistachio, peeled paint, and I believe it's Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide. So I created this fun scene just on a piece of watercolor paper and then mounted them on there, and don't they just pop beautifully? That thank you again is one of the Glorious Bouquet Greetings. I just created that fun scene and then added a couple of gems onto the flowers as well, just for that extra pop of sparkle. So you can see it on there. So just a really fun, bright card. And I had one bloom left over, so I did another one of those really fun, clean and simple cards as well. And then again, a beautiful sentiment. This is a My Favorite Things sentiment. One gem on there, and it all just pops out beautifully. This color scheme just came out absolutely gorgeous. Everything, as I say, is just a plain white card base. Then I've matted it onto the Tonic Satin Black cardstock that I cut down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then my white panel is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So it's all very consistent. It's really easy to make in bulk because you can pre-cut everything and then just stick more down. And then finally, I die cut the hummingbird out here, and then I stamped the splatters this time using the new Distress Archivals. I used the pink and the purple. I think the purple is Seedless Preserves and the pink might be Worn Lipstick off the top of my head. Again, I used that same stamp. I added a tiny little jewel there for his eye just to add a little bit of sparkle. On the Satin Black, I stamped There Is Beauty and Simplicity from that Nature's Wonder stamp set. The hummingbird comes from the same stamp set as the Geometric Butterfly. There's also a bunny in the same set as well, but they all match perfectly together. And then I embossed that in silver embossing powder. But I left the wing up so you can see from the side there's a nice little bit of texture in there, and it just adds that little bit of interest. But it wouldn't add any bulk in the male, but it just adds that little bit of depth and dimension on there. So lots and lots of projects. I still have this one left over, this board, and I do have a plan for it, and you'll be seeing it featuring in a future video. So I do have a project in mind, but I don't have the tool I need to make that project yet, so I'm waiting for that to arrive from scrapbook.com. So thank you so much for joining us for this feature length video. Don't forget, it is a double video day, so I'll link up that other video in the video description, and it was linked at the beginning of this video as well, so check that out too. That's an overview of all the substrates and all those fun things too. Of course, there's the exclusive tonic code in the video description, and any other codes we might have will be there for you as well. And I will see you again very soon. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications of our future videos. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching this and watching that process. And links to everything is in the video description for you. And I always try to link them in the order of the videos to make it easy to find for you as well. We'll see you again very soon. Happy stamping, everyone. Bye.